The 1970s were a fascinating era that many of us often reminisce about. It was a time before supercomputers fit in our pockets and streaming services dominated our screens. The 70s were a period of great energy, unique vibes, and countless fun activities. However, as time marched on, things have changed. While some of these things were for the better, I must wonder if the simplicity of that period is lost on today's younger generation. So let me take you on a journey through 10 things from the 70s that kids today will never understand. Number 10, limited TV channels. So let's start with something that's truly unfathomable in today's society. Back in the 60s, there were only three nationally broadcasted TV channels. There was ABC, NBC, and CBS. Fast forward to 1970, there were 6 television channels. It wasn't until 1980 that things started to improve with 28 channels available, doubling by the 1990s. But for a time, if you wanted to watch TV, you had to hope that there was something good on one of the few channels that you had, and that you were allowed to watch it all depending on your age. A much different time indeed. Number 9, record stores. This one isn't as hard to understand as people visited music stores well into the early 2000s. But in the 1970s, there weren't MP3 players or even CD players. The best way to listen to music was through a record player, and that meant you had to go to a record store to try to find the music you wanted. Unlike today, where you can buy a single song, you had to buy an entire record just to hear your favorite track. Record stores weren't always organized either, so you could spend a lot of time flipping through rows of records trying to find the ones you wanted. Number 8, themed lunchboxes. Regardless of your age, everyone is a fan of something. In every decade, people have looked for ways to showcase their favorite person, sports team, character, or TV show. In the 70s, themed metal lunchboxes were a popular way for kids to display their interests. The big influences on lunchboxes were children's TV shows like Sesame Street and movies like Star Wars and E.T. Also, music groups like the Bee Gees, Captain and Tennille, and Fleetwood Mac were huge. These lunchboxes, now considered collector's items, eventually disappeared because of concerns they could be used by kids as weapons. Number 7, hitchhiking. Hitchhiking is something that is hard to imagine today. Looking back, you have to wonder why anyone would have picked up a complete stranger on the side of the road, even if it was only for a short distance. Back then, people were more trusting, and hitchhiking was a common way to travel. You would stand on the side of the road, point your thumb out, and hope that someone would give you a ride. During the 70s, with the development of the interstate highway system and new laws banning hitchhiking in many states, this mode of travel became less common. Number 6, corded wall phones. I believe I can add this to the list of things that kids nowadays not only wouldn't understand, but are glad that this rarely exists in today's world. Before cell phones, the only way to call someone in the 1970s was through corded phones. This meant that you had a much more limited range of motion when talking to someone. And if you needed to hand the phone to someone else, they had to be in the same room with you. While this seems primitive now, having a phone in your home was a huge deal in the 70s, and it helped to greatly improve communication. Number 5, 70s fashion and hair. Every decade has its unique fashion and hairstyles. It was part of the fun in many ways. In the 70s, some of the biggest fashion statements included leisure suits, big mustaches, and afros. I have kind of an afro, proving that the 70s aren't completely dead so long as I live. But back in that period, the afros and fashion styles were big, bold, loud, and oh so happening. Number 4, waterbeds. Back in the 70s, it wasn't just about being cool. It was about finding the right vibe to live every aspect of your life. Waterbeds were created in the late 1960s but gained popularity and traction in the 70s and 80s, and were perfect for the person who wanted a different kind of sleep experience. Believe it or not, these are still around today. They're just not as popular. The twist is that they can be great for those who have a hard time sleeping. They conform to the person's body, can relieve pressure, and if heated, they can be an incredibly comfortable sleep aid. They eventually lost popularity because of maintenance costs, and we did get better mattress technology to help with sleep issues. Number 3, mood rings. Mood rings became a popular fad in the 70s, appealing to both adults and children. Mood rings were invented in 1975 by 2 New York inventors. The rings were marketed as a way to reflect the wearer's emotions, tapping into the era's fascination with psychology and personal well-being. The mood in mood rings comes from thermochromic liquid crystals encased within the stone of the ring. The color in the ring is not directly linked to emotions, but rather the body temperature of the person wearing it. Since body temperature can fluctuate with different emotional states, the ring gave the illusion of reflecting mood changes. Each color was believed to represent a different emotional state, such as black being stressed or tense, green calm and relaxed, blue happy or romantic, and purple energetic or creative. Despite the scientific reality, the novelty and mystique of mood rings were part of the charm, making them a beloved part of 1970s culture. Number 2. Platform shoes. In the 70s, when disco was booming and everyone wanted to cut a move on the dance floor, some people wanted a way to truly stand out from the crowd. Platform shoes were a way to stand out, especially on the disco floor. These shoes had massive bottoms that made wearers look so much taller than they actually were. People loved them and bought them to help complement their disco look. There is no doubt they were popular for their style, but they also helped with foot health by distributing pressure evenly. To kids today though, they are probably just looking weird. And number 1, drive-in theaters. Drive-in theaters were a classic American experience, allowing you to watch movies from the comfort of your car. They were more than just a place to watch movies. They were social hubs where families, friends, and couples gathered. To be clear, regular movie theaters came before drive-in theaters and obviously have outlasted them for the most part. But it was once a true American experience to go to a drive-in theater and see a featured film under the stars. For many, drive-ins were a popular dating spot, offering a level of privacy and a unique experience compared to traditional indoor movie theaters. Often, the drive-ins offered double features, which provided a full evening of entertainment for a set price. Sadly, the oil crisis of the 1970s led to much higher gas prices, making it more expensive to drive to and from theaters. Also, many folks just downsized their automobiles to save money, making it more cramped for a family to sit together for an extended time. In recent years, though, drive-ins have experienced a resurgence in popularity. COVID-19 caused a temporary boost in attendance. As of 2024, there are approximately 300 drive-in theaters still operating in the United States. And there you have it, everyone. A look at some things from the 70s that kids today likely wouldn't understand. Which of these items gave you that nostalgic feeling inside? Comment below with your thoughts or what else from the 70s you know of that kids today definitely wouldn't get. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.